What to do, what's the deal, what's good, y'all? Continuing the last part of our conversation, Rappers Deserve to Grow Old, with my man B+. We talk about just having a space for humanity in the music and allowing people to be human. We also talk about, how some artists, are they aging gracefully, or, do they need some additional support? And so I don't want to waste your time. Let's get into the
People
content.
try to like share their struggles, like, yo, this is what happened. This is something that happened to me, but it happened like 5 years ago,
Yeah.
and we
Yeah.
don't see that. And I think it's like, you know, I think it's like it's also one of the kind of like getting into like the whole audience piece. I think it's also one of the reasons why some people may fall off, because I think the music speaks for them into like the early season of their Christian life.
Yep. Exactly.
And so it's like, yeah, I need that encouragement of my faith. It's like I need to wave that banner of like, I am unashamed, and and I'm just ready for Jesus, and I want all of him. At the same time, it's like, as you experience life, there are other things that it's like that feel a little more nuanced, of like trying to understand, of like, where is God, like, in this, and like, how does he speak to these things, and just my personal life of
Right.
like, finding purpose, being a family man, even
Yeah.
just, yeah, yeah, and those things. And I think that's one of the tensions that that we see, is like, okay, there's so much emphasis on like, make sure that we're communicating the truth. At the same time, it's like, there are other there are other truths we can communicate
Right.
about. Okay, God is still present in the midst of my struggle with grief with my mother, like, we saw with Taylor. And the
Yeah.
fact of you know I'm still trying to figure out my faith after leaving my church. Or i'm still trying
Exactly.
to I'm still trying to figure out, what does life mean after 2020, and like becoming just like a different person, which is honestly,
Right.
that was the whole idea behind Good Morning. Was, I'm
Right.
like,
Right.
I'm in this whole new world, and it's like, I'm still like trying to like figure it out. I remember somebody mentioned to me, is like, they said, I wish you would have like emphasized, it said like gave like a stronger conclusion of like, Christ is with you and everything. And I was like, that was the point. I wanted to leave it more open, of like, for us to sit in that tension,
Right.
because
I
it's
think that's
like,
why
that's
you.
why I go.
That's why. Is that why
Mhm.
you? Is that why you spell mourning that way?
Yeah, that's why I spell mourning that way, because it's like, it's
But that's
representing
art.
like,
That's art, and people sometimes
yeah.
just want it to be like spoon fed, but you're
Mhm.
an artist. It's like it's.
Mhm.
I feel like it's pleasing for an artist to do something in a way to where it causes the person to sit with it and say like, "Huh,
Mhm.
I wonder what conclusions he's trying to draw, or like I wonder what he meant by
Mhm.
that," versus just saying that like my mom passed, but God's my everything. Like, yes, that's like that drives me
Mhm.
nuts when people say stuff like that. It's like shouldn't, but God's your everything, so you're still fine. But like it's not even like a bar. It's just what Taylor
Mhm.
Gray said. He was just like, I miss Lee Gray. That's how he started. Like that's how he started one of his songs or one of his verses. And I was just kind of like, that's so impactful just to be able to actually be able
Mhm.
to say that. Because we don't let people admit.
Mhm.
There's a whole book called Lamentations where that's what they did. A
Yeah.
lot of the psalms they're lament songs.
Mhm.
A good portion of I don't know the exact number, but a good portion of them are. But I
Mhm.
feel like
Yeah.
because and I think I might have got this from Show Baraka. Um, either yep, I might have got it from Show from some interview. But because we're not willing to deal with our own humanity, because we're not okay ourselves to like deal with our own emotions, we
Mhm.
don't want to hear somebody else's emotions. So we just say,
Mhm.
shh, 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 shh. No, no, no. God's your everything. He'll be your anchor. He'll pull you through this. But it's just like,
Mhm.
no, but I miss my mom, though. Or,
Mhm.
or, or it's like, no, but I miss that church that really hurt me. Like, I love that church,
Mhm.
but it hurt me.
Yeah.
And I just want to say I miss that community of that church. people are like, oh no, church hurt isn't a real thing, and it's like it is a real thing. At the same time, the entire church didn't hurt you, like the whole capital C church didn't hurt you, but that particular church did, and you should be able to like say that.
Yeah.
And I feel like a lot of times people are okay with people. They're not okay with their own emotions, so they don't want to hear other people's emotions. But like, we're human. We're human beings.
We are.
So so
and
yeah.
I think,
Sorry to
that,
get on the rant, but like that's
hey, I like it though, because it's like, again, I think it's like that sense of humanity in the music is like, I think it's also something I've heard other people say that they felt like it was missing, and I think that is one of the tensions that people begin to navigate. It's like, okay, it's like, you know, in this moment, it's like, I need something to speak to me. And it's like, and so I think the thing is, hip hop, has a space of like artists where they are speaking to, are speaking to the culture. They're speaking to the things of the culture. And so it's like, okay, I can relate. Okay, I can relate to this. It's like, in certain aspects of it, it's like, yeah, it's like, for some of these artists, like, yeah, they may have more money than me, but they're at least communicating in a way where I can understand them, or at least I can feel like I can connect to some of the things that they say, versus like, especially even, I would say even back in the days, it's like, where it kind of like felt like, oh, it's like, y'all are like these like super like pious, like righteous men. And it's like, in one sense, it's like, because it's like, again, especially like, even like when I encountered Christian hip hop, it's like, again, I was a teenager when I first met Ambassador, and so it was like, again, it was like, in one sense, meeting like a Nas, or even like then for me back then, in that moment of like getting to connect with him and all that stuff. And I think, but of course, it's like some of the things about that he later on shared with his life, of like, of course, he's like, there was a son he had before, he was married, and like, it would have been, even like with Truth, he had a daughter before, he met his wife. It's like, things that would have been like good to like hear, of like, even just like, what is it like to, have that father role, in one sense. It's like, and, navigating that. And it's like, which is great. Which actually makes me think, it's like, which is why, again, another underrated guy, Armand Wake Up, just like the way he just communicates his stuff, because it's like, of him, because again, he talks about some of those tensions, because he's a parent. Again, he's a parent, and at the same time, it's like, he has a blended family, because he has two kids that stay with their moms, and at the same time, now he also has, his current family, which stays with him, and even then, it's like, mixing those things together. And I think again, that shows, one thing, it shows, just some of the sense of his humanity, and like some of the things that he has even shared, and just like some of his own on his own songs. I think that's very very valuable to that space. And like, even like the things like, again, a guy like, again, an internet darling of ours, Christian Grey. When School of Roses came out, just like the things he was talking about, when it came to like just some of the tensions that he was having, like, as a married man, of like, trying to fight temptation, and even like recognizing like there are times like he's the one who's messing up his marriage. And
Christian Grey, man, he's a special artist. I kind of hate how everything kind of unraveled here about a month ago, but like, I understand it. I'm still a fan. I don't like how it all went down, but it's like his vulnerability in his music was something that, like, we didn't know could happen. Like
Mm-hmm.
we knew that people can talk about social issues and they would get pushed back, but we didn't know that you can just be real about your marriage like that. And on all like you just said, like, and to be open enough to say that, like, man, I'm kind of messing this up. Like, man, what's going on with me? type of deal.
Yeah.
And I was young in my marriage at the time, so it was like stuff that he was saying was stuff that I was like kind of thinking like, oh man, like people that we don't give you an instruction manual on any of this.
They don't.
Yeah, so shout out to Christian Gray, man. I know he might not ever see this, but shout out to Christian Gray, man. I still love you, man.
Yeah, bro. I'm just like, bro, though. When you said that, though, it's like that. Yeah, and it's like that. That's things that people don't talk about. It's like, again, which is even going back to hip hop. It's like, I remember like Fonte's last album, just some of the things he talked about of just like, having to deal with the death of his father, having to deal with being older, and like, okay, having to watch what I eat. Having to,
Yeah.
he talked about having to, trying marriage again and everything. Mm-hmm. And also randomly, he actually mentioned cross movement in that album too.
He did.
So yeah, he mentioned like on one of the songs he mentions back in the day, like one of his friends would used to bump this, he's like, back when my homeboy was bumping cross movement and everything.
Wow.
Yes. I did not. It threw me off when I heard that. I was like, this man just saying cross movement. Hey. But at the same time, it's like people in the hip hop scene knew cross movement because again, there was this, I'm gonna take this tangent real quick and then we're gonna get back to it. Cause like, because like Diddy was trying to sign them at one point.
Wow.
And then so like Diddy was trying to KRS One wanted them to feature on the album Spiritually Minded. Yeah. And everything. I think even like other people that I knew that I heard that knew their name, like Redman, Busta Rhymes, and all that stuff. Like, so it's like, and then, they were on, like, they got to rap on Teen Summit and everything. They did.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, and everything. And so it's like, so it's like, again, cross movement in their day, they were doing things. So
yeah, they were.
Like, so it's like, it's still trippy to hear someone mention it in that space. Is like, hold on, wow, that I didn't expect that.
Yeah.
But back to like that being human piece. It's like, I think that's what it. I think that often when you hear like the prominent, kind of like in a sense, the prominent Christian hip hop, it's kind of like, okay, yeah, it is. It's more of that 1, 2, 3 jump for Jesus music.
Yeah.
And which I think is great. I think it's amazing. I think it's dope, and I think it's something that's needed. At the same time, I also think like, just like that's needed, we needed like just like the music that we have been talking about, and it's like, and I think that does give us an opportunity for more of the legacy acts that to come into play. And so
one quick thing about the 1, 2, 3 jump music. I think that there's a way of doing it that doesn't feel as cheesy. Cause like, I mean, going back and listening to some of the Christian hip hop that I listened to, like aside from like the heavy hitters, like the cross movements and the grits and all that, like the local acts were just like really like, it would be kind of cheesy Christian rap type music. One song that was like a big hit I hear on TikTok, but I know it's a big hit by Scooty Wop, the song Spin Back. Have you heard that song?
Oh, like, yeah.
It's super, super, super catchy. And like,
yes,
the second I heard it, I was like, I love this. But when you listen to it, the content of it is very, very like, it's not like youth group music, but like the content of it is very like Jesus front and center. But he did it in a way to where like it was still so catchy, and it didn't feel like, oh, he's just trying to appeal. Like you can tell sometimes some people make some songs just to appeal to like that group. But that song didn't feel like that at all. And I'm happy because he got signed to Sony, so I don't know how that's going to play out. But there's I just want to make a quick point that there's a way of doing it that can work and not be as cheesy, for lack of a better word.
I'll definitely give props to Scooty just because like he's very like upfront with like the Christian and the faith content and everything. I think even like, you know, speaking to like some of the things of like when I hear some of the older folks talk about like, you know, CHH ain't the same it used to be. I think it's like there are people still communicating like, you know, and proclaiming the faith. I just think that because it sounds like, you know, it sounds like modern day hip hop to them, it's like it's harder for them to rock with it because it's like, and at the same time, it's like it also speaks to that context. It's like you need guys like Scooty being able to do that and that same thing. But I also think it's like, you know, I want to see like, you know, the older artists continue to age gracefully because it's like I think probably my attention and I was like I hint at it and now I'm actually saying publicly it's always try to like pepper it because it's like because like he is my man. It's like I love Deuce, I love Ambassador. At the same time, I feel like because of like, you know, that style of like always wanting to communicate and speak to people, it's like there's always this natural need to feel like I have to contextualize to today's sound when I really believe like he could, as we have both mentioned, like he could work with like a Hit Boy style producer and like still resonate in today's time.
And you're talking about like the legacy acts, like the two artists that I think about how Ambassador's The Invitation last year, and like kind of speaking to your point, and it's funny, I did an album review of that and I've never put it out. I did it like in December. I need to go ahead and post it. I played it on Holy Culture, but I never actually posted it on YouTube. So I think about his album, and now I think about the Truth album, Emmanuel. Now he goes by Emmanuel now. But like, I feel like Emmanuel really did a great job of like staying true to like the musician in him, because he's a musician. And I really, really, really enjoy Emmanuel. And like obviously the song Gray Hair, like that's a great song with PJ Morton. He just did a really good job on that album. So those are two legacy acts that recently dropped something that I feel like that both of the albums went over well. But I think some people, to your point, they wanted Ambassador to stick to like his roots and not try to go after the new wave as much as he did. But it was still enjoyable. But if he could have had 1995 produce it, or guys, there's a number of great producers out there that could have they can help him put out something that's more like honestly, what we know him as. But
because honestly, I feel like the way I feel about The Invitation is how I feel about the Nasir album, where the joint where Nas did with Kanye. It's like I feel like there were some great high points, and then there are some points where it's like I ain't know about this, but it's like there's enough on there to make me think it, to make me know it's like again he still has it. And he still and it's like I just feel like again he needs that he needs like that person that can like produce him and create that space for him. And it's like I do think it's like it is going to be interesting to see like what, you know, if like a guy like Cray, or if guys like Cray, Trip, you know, still continue to do music, like what it continues to sound like. And I even think like, you know, beginning to think through is like, how do we begin to like, you know, continue to create space for like older acts and like even, you know, get some of the folks that are still active, you know, more of that, you know, necessary attention, like, you know, like your Taylors, like your Amons, Dre and Dre Murray, who, you know, who still got it and everything. Like even like a K drama. Like,
Yep.
So yeah.
I'm with you, man.
So thank you for everybody who's been journeying with us through this conversation. I hope you enjoyed it. And so there's actually one more part left, because if you remember at part 3, I mentioned there is a conversation me and B Plus have about what would be our legacy tour. And so that's going to come out very soon. So check it out. Learn, love, live. Peace, y'all.